Hey. All right, y'all. So look, this is the first ever Sports Freak podcast. We
Hey.
coming to you, via Zoom. We got we gonna matter of fact, I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves. We're gonna go around the room. Gina, you can start.
All right, ladies first, huh?
Yep, ladies first.
So I am Gina. I am the host of the podcast She Talks Football. That's me. I am she. And I am very excited to be a part of this Sports Freak podcast. Thank you, Matt, for inviting me to be a part. I'm just always down to talk about sports, really, to talk about NFL football, regardless of how painful it is. But you will be able to catch my podcast on YouTube. You can follow me on YouTube on She Talks Football. Follow me on Twitter. That's at She Talks Football, 1L. That's not a typo, 1L. And also, I am a part of the platform called The Undroppables. The Undroppables. If you're not following them, you need to follow them on Twitter and check out the platform. Lots and lots of great content on there for fantasy and for NFL football and for college and all that stuff. So thank you, Matt. What's up, everybody?
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's
Wow.
up? Awesome. Thank you, Gina, for being a part of this. Y'all make sure y'all go follow that She Talks Football podcast and the Undroppables. Like everything that she's a part of, she's great. She's awesome, and we're blessed to have her on here.
Oh,
All right, so then it's me. My name is Matt or whatever. I also host the 100 podcast. It is not a sports podcast, but you still love it. Great content. We talk about everything from relationships to politics, and you can name it. We talk about it on the 100 podcast. There's lots of interviews on there. You can check it out on Spotify, uh, Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts. So you're gonna meet Javon in a second, but Mayhem has started a podcast about a year ago called the Straight Off Top Podcast. And we that's where we got this idea from. We started generating ideas and started thinking about, okay, we need to really have a space, a podcast for sports lovers to be able to share our information, share our opinions and content. And then we came up with this. So it's just a blessing to be able to have just these unique individuals who have knowledge of sports, and we hope that you guys watch us and continue to follow us because it's only going to get more entertaining as we go along. Javon, you can go ahead.
All right, I'm Javon. Like you said, we started this podcast together a while back, and now we wonderful opportunity to be a part of this one, man. Just love getting together, talking about sports. Different people got different favorite teams, and we'll trash talk. We'll throw some opinions out there, but hey,
looking
that's what
forward
makes
to
it
it.
fun. And so that's what I look forward to the most is being able to just chop it up. It's all love at the end of the day. Everybody gets along. I'm on Twitter at Javon Toes as well. And just glad to be a part of Sports Freak Podcast, man.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. And then we're going to finish up with Ennis. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, this is Dennis Campbell, uh, Dolphin fan. I really don't have a podcast like them. Just have fortunate to be part of this one. I like talking sports, like I said. So uh, that's basically it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, y'all. So look, this is the Sports Freak Podcast, and what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be we pre-select different topics, and each week we're gonna talk about those topics. We're gonna all share our opinions, and maybe we even get into some heated debates depending on the topic, right? Like Javon said, we're all fans of different teams. Me and Gina are actually Ravens fans, as you can see.
Caw.
Flock Nation. Then we got the Chiefs Kingdom, and then what do the Dolphins call themselves?
Fans Nation.
Fins Nation. Okay, so we got Fins Nation, Flock Nation, and we got the Chiefs Kingdom, all represented proudly here. Although today is not a happy day.
Nobody.
If you are a fan of one of these teams, today is not a happy day. But
And
before we get started on that, we want to take a second and talk about the passing of John Madden. He passed away over the weekend. And like John Madden is a giant in the sports world, in the football world in particular. And um, his voice, his game, his his just presence, as being part of the NFL community is just forever ingrained. And I think the league, us as the fans, we're all better off, for him being a part of that and leaving his legacy. We're gonna go around the room and just kind of talk about what John Madden meant to you as a sport fan growing up. Go ahead, Gina. You can get started.
So for me, as a kid, I wasn't hardcore watching football, but I do remember seeing this dude in the broadcast, on the chair, like every Sunday or whenever it was he plays. Like that's one thing I do remember. I'm sorry that he, was the analyst, was the reporter. That's one thing I remember seeing. I remember seeing him in the booth during the games, and then obviously. I remember him somewhat as a coach. Again, I was younger. I wasn't really watching it like that then, but I do remember seeing him on the sideline as a coach, knowing he was successful. And then obviously when the Madden football game came out, and, I actually have never played Madden, I don't think. But, seeing all of my brothers and friends and everybody just go hardcore, just waiting for the Madden game to come out, and I was probably more looking forward to see like who was on the cover, like who's on the cover of Madden. So I had like a little interest there to see who was going to make the cover that year, and debating that. But definitely a stalwart in this field in football in several different areas. So a fixture, and I saw some of the stats recently. The most winning coach in NFL, above Lombardi, above some of these other coaches. So rest in peace, John Madden, and my deepest condolences to his family, his friends, and basically the entire NFL family.
Javon.
Yeah, man. Madden was like probably the biggest introduction to football I got. Uh, as many know, Madden was an O lineman. I was an O lineman. Like Madden was big on. Everybody knows like how football games were in the day. You didn't have the lineman in the game, but Madden was the innovator, man. Like he's like, no, we have an 11-on-11 football. Like he innovated that. The way we look at the game now, we see a first down marker, and you see the line of scrimmage line. Madden did that. He was like, that's in the video game. Why can't we put it in the real game? Like all the stuff you see, like Madden was the innovator of that. And Madden really playing the game was really how I grew in my knowledge of the game, playing physically. But before I even started playing physically, playing the video game is how I learned about coverages and audibles and all the different things. And so I attribute a lot of my love for the game to what Madden inspired and wanted to get many people involved in it. So really appreciated the documentary that came out. I'm glad he got to get his roses before he passed. If many people watch that, it's streaming now on, I believe, ESPN streaming platform and Fox. But if you get a chance to really watch that, watch it. Like, because it's nice to get to see him as a man, as a family head, and not just so much as the football icon. And you get to know more about his personality. But just wonderful documentary, and I'm just glad he got a chance to see that before passing. I'm glad he got a chance to see how people held him in high regard as well, because he's very humble, well-deserving, and he just loves the game of football. And so was sad to hear his passing, but I know he leaves behind a lot that people will never forget him. Even if the younger generation now just remember him as, oh, that's his video game, he will never be forgotten because Madden ain't going nowhere.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ennis.
For me, it's a little different. Me being older, like first games I ever watched, John Madden was like C Talk said, he was on the TV, but the way he broke down the game, I didn't know that he was a great coach until I got older. So him teaching you on as the game go on, how he broke down all the big men on the trenches, because he was a big man. That's where he started off as, and then being a coach, he his teams was great in the trenches. So he loved talking about the big guys. He loved giving them. To this day, the trenches is what win games. It's sad a lot of coaches don't, take John's philosophy, but the memory for me, I'm gonna make it quick, is like I said, to tell people like growing up, Thanksgiving, and what knowing John Madden's on TV while you eat good Thanksgiving food, like he just brings that memory of family, good football, which is a good time as a kid. You ain't even your team ain't even playing, but you just his voice made it Thanksgiving. I'm gonna say it that way, and that's what the
Nice.
biggest takeaway for me when I think of John Madden. The game, like he, what's the name saying? It taught you coverages and plays because you had to pick a play to play the game. So that was big, as far as knowledge. But me, it's just a memory of him being that voice in my era growing up, and he touched so many people. But yeah, it's just a memory for me.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Isaiah. Isaiah, you can go ahead and introduce yourself and then if you got a memory of Matt, you can share.
What up? What up? My name is Isaiah. Uh, Sorry I'm a little late on this podcast. Technical difficulties. But what John Madden mean to me? My dad has been a gaming fanatic all my life. So uh, I was born in '91, and I knew what John Madden was since '92. So my dad has had every system. My dad has had every game. He still has every system, still has every game. So I've been playing Madden, knowing John Madden dang near since I've been born. So uh, just to see the transition year to year out with the games, just over years to come, uh, you knew John Madden just off his distinctive voice. Like nobody else on this planet has that voice. Like you knew when you heard the TV, you knew when you cut the game on, it was that man. So uh, he played a very pivotal part to a lot of people's lives, believe it or not, especially to the game of football and in console gaming. So shout out to that man, living legend. May he rest in heaven. Uh, and yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about John Madden.
Man, I'm gonna just be real brief, but my fondest memory of Madden was when I was playing youth football. Right, I played for Pop Warner and everything, and we were traveling to a regional game where we had. I think we had to go to. I think we had to go to New Jersey or somewhere to play a game, and so we took coach buses back then. And they would play a video, a VHS, on the bus while we traveling, and that video was Little Giants. It was the first time I had ever seen Little Giants,
Mm-hmm.
and Madden was in the movie, right? And he was, always think about the annexation of Puerto Rico, you know, uh, the speech he gave to the Little Giants, man. Madden was just bigger than life, man. And then you talk about the video game, and I mean, you hear these NFL guys always talk about, one of their biggest dreams was not only to make it to the NFL, but also be on the front cover of Madden. Like that's just like a pinnacle of success if you're an NFL athlete. Is to somehow get on the front cover. Like Lamar said, he didn't even think it was, a reality. He didn't think it could happen, and he was on the front cover. So, our favorite cover athletes. I think to me, my favorite Madden of all time was the 2005, I believe. That was the one Vic was on the front cover. I mean, Vic was unstoppable in that game. So it was awesome, man. And, we just wanted to speak about John Madden because, I mean, how can you have a sports podcast where we're doing broadcasting and talking about sports and not acknowledge the giant that is John Madden? So as we said earlier, guys, today that
Quickly, Matt, I'm sorry.
I'm
Before we
sorry.
move on, just also wanted to acknowledge the passing of Dan Reeves.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, rest in peace, Dan Reeves, another giant in the NFL when it comes to coaching. Speaking of Michael Vick, he was Michael Vick's coach in Atlanta. He was John Elway's coach in Denver. I believe he even coached the Cleveland Browns as well. So, yeah, man, rest in peace to Dan Reeves, man. A
Rest
lot
in
of
peace.
the Giants are leaving us, man. So, you know, prayers to both of their families in this time of loss. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
RP.
yeah, RP. Yep. And so, like I said in the beginning of this, when we first started, this recording, this podcast, was it's a somber day for all of us here on this podcast, on the Sports Free podcast, because every team that is represented
What
in
is
this,
that? What is that?
About to
every
rethink this.
every
We
team
all
that is
lost.
every team that is represented in this room right now all took a loss.
Right. But at least Javon and Isaiah, they still in the playoffs. Like
Yeah, you know,
we
there's different
somber for real.
stages of
They
disappointment.
ain't got no reason to be down because they lost to the Bengals. Y'all still in the playoffs. I don't want to hear y'all down.
Right.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good
But
point.
the number one
Kendall.
spot, man. You know, we've been hated all
Yeah,
year.
if
Start off 3
if
and
y'all
4.
get y'all spoiled
want the
on
number one
somewhere,
spot.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Y'all
The
spoiled.
Ravens
Y'all,
hanging out in the fringes, hanging on
yeah,
by.
we about to be joining them. We about to be with them. Like, man, we don't want to hear about y'all.
Well, we
number
got
one
one
spot
more
and
week
all
to
that.
see what all goes down. But yeah, that's true. That's true.
All
Y'all
right, so
already in the playoffs.
So that takes us right into our next topic. And that next topic is the NFL playoffs, AFC, NFC playoffs. Based on what happened early today, it looks like Tennessee is now in the number one spot in the AFC because Kansas City lost. Kansas City has already clinched their division, but right now Tennessee is in the driver's seat because they're now 12-5, and I believe Kansas City is 11-6 now.
We
So
both 11-6.
yeah, so they both 11-6.
Tennessee holds the tiebreaker on us.
Okay. You sure? Because I'm looking at Tennessee was 11-5 before the game started today.
I mean, yeah, we both 11-5. Sorry.
Yeah, y'all both
teams
was
are
11-5.
No,
But
both are 11-5.
okay, they both 11. Okay, so Tennessee's number one spot right now. The Chiefs are in the number 2 spot in the AFC. The Bengals are the number 3 spot in the AFC, but followed by Buffalo, New England, and then we have the 2 wild card teams that are in the hunt. We got the Raiders and the Chiefs. Raiders and the Colts are in the last 2 spots. On the bubble, got the Chargers, Dolphins, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Broncos. As a Ravens fan, I feel like our bubble has all but burst today because not only did we lose, but a lot of the things that we needed to go right today did not go right. So let's just start right there at the top. The number 1 seed, Tennessee Titans, having that number 1 seed. What do we think about that? Isaiah, since you just got in, I'm gonna let you start off first. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans and their chances in the AFC playoffs.
Tennessee is one of them teams where they're beatable, but you got that monster that may be returning come next week. And no, he may not be 100% game time ready, but I think Derrick Henry is one of them dogs that no matter how long he's out, he's going to train hard to come back to make sure that he is a pivotal person on that team. Tennessee was one of those quiet teams that's all year, like they've been winning games. They're not really getting like the publicity when it comes to like talk shows and things like that because you got other major teams and other big time cities. But I still believe with Derrick Henry returning, that just gives them a little bit more. They're beatable, but it's still, damn, I have to worry about a 250-plus pound running back that can run anybody over in this game. In the cold, wherever we got to play, we got to travel to Tennessee. Like, I think they still a dangerous team. They are definitely a team to watch out for. It's not going to be an easy pass.
Okay. Gina, what do you think about Tennessee? What do you think about Tennessee's chances in the AFC?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, basically, your hope is with Derrick Henry going down that they were just going to falter all the way through for the rest of the season. Some kind of way that did not happen. It's not like, Tannehill got out there and played lights out, but he wasn't losing the games for them either. So sometimes as long as your QB is not losing the game for you and, and your defense is able to do something, you got to run a game, you can do all right. So the Dolphins, I'm sorry, the Titans, it makes them more dangerous to me going into the playoffs because you lost what all of us thought was your greatest offensive weapon in Derrick Henry, and you still continue to win, and you are atop your division and now atop the AFC without him. Like, come on. So I think that makes them much more dangerous going into the playoff season. A, that they've been able to do it because they're tested, and B, the fact that Derrick Henry could make a resurgence and come back. Yeah, that's definitely a team that you're going to have to look out for going into these playoffs for sure. I didn't have them favored to get far in the playoffs at all coming into the season. I don't know about the rest of you guys, despite that they had Derrick Henry, but it's making me take a second look now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Titans, man, they're a really good coach team, right? You know, they've been in it the last 2-3 years. So basically, because their journey kind of intersects with the Ravens' journey, right? So since the Ravens, when Lamar Jackson has been, you know, like the machine we've been the last couple of years, Tennessee has always been a roadblock, or they've always been in the thick of things when it comes to the playoffs and getting to the AFC Championship or Super Bowl. So they've always been there. Mike Vrabel is a really good coach. You know, sometimes he rubs me the wrong way, you know,
I don't like him
because he really pushes the limits of things you should and shouldn't do as a head coach. But it motivates his team, you know, and each team is different. We all know this, that, you know, the mental makeup and, you know, physical makeup of it. Each team is different, and he knows the buttons to press to motivate his team. It works for those guys. I agree with Gina. When Derrick Henry went down, I thought they were done. I thought, well, see you next year, Tennessee, you know, and they showed, man, you know, that running game, you know, like Isaiah said, well, while it's not as dominant as it was with Derrick Henry, that running game is still effective. I've seen them run the ball on New England. I've seen them run the ball on other teams. And when they get Derrick Henry back, I mean, it's really going to make a big difference. So Tennessee is a dangerous team. I think that I would give them as good a chance as any team in trying to, you know, get to the Super Bowl. I really think they have the components necessary to get there. They got a running game. They have a solid defense, as Miami found out today. You know, they have a solid defense. And if you got to go to Tennessee to play a playoff game, it's going to be tough because that crowd is definitely – they got a good fan base over there. And they always have since, you know, back in the Eddie George and Steve McNair days. They've always had a pretty good home field advantage out there in Tennessee. So, Javon, what's your take on Tennessee? I know you're not really liking Tennessee at this moment. You know,
I differ, actually. I'm not sold on Tennessee. It's commendable what they've been able to upkeep. But, I mean, if you really look at their schedule and who they beat, one, I don't think the NFC really has the level of competition to mess with the AFC. So like when I look at their schedule, I see they beat the Rams. Yeah, okay. I'm not really sold on the Rams, you know, and they beat the Rams pre-Odell. So the Rams didn't even have the weapon that they have in Odell. They beat the Saints. The Saints don't got a quarterback. They lost to the Houston Texans. They lost to the New England Patriots. Everybody's beat Jacksonville this year. But they lose to a Pittsburgh Steelers team that we all see going is a dumpster fire. We all see the inefficiencies of Pittsburgh. They beat an NFC team, the San Francisco 49ers, and then, of course, they beat the Dolphins today. So, no, I'm not sold on Tennessee. Are they a good team? Yeah, they're a good team, but I'm not sold on it. And we had this discussion. We've had this discussion about, you know, Henry. Yeah, he's a good player, but he can't do it himself. And, you know, you go back to the AFC Championship game versus the Chiefs. Henry was as hot then as he is now. And the Chiefs shut down that running game. Henry was so frustrated. Even when Tennessee beat the Chiefs this year, Henry was still limited. He was frustrated this year in a win versus the Chiefs because he was shut down. So if you take that aspect away from Tennessee, you make Tannehill have to win the game with his arm, they aren't going to win. And if you look at the teams that they possibly have to face, they possibly have to go against Buffalo again in the playoffs. You know, they may have to see Cincinnati in the playoffs. They may have to see New England again in the playoffs, who, you know, if we look at the schedule, they lost to New England already, 36-13. So really, is Tennessee getting the number 1 seed really going to be to their advantage? I don't know.
That's a good take. I mean, you know, Tennessee, I mean, no one's been dominant this year. Let's just put that out there, right? Like if you watch football and you've been watching, specifically the AFC, no one's run away with that conference. I mean, we've had probably about 6 different conference leaders at some point during the season. The Ravens had the number 1 seed twice this year. The Chiefs had it, you know, just recently. Now the Titans have it. I believe Buffalo had it at a time, and even New England had it at a time. So, I mean, the no one has really wants to take hold of the top spot, and it just keeps rotating. Like everybody get a chance. You know, we just passing the baton, and it's just basically who's going to have it when the games are over. Like when, you know, after next week, who's going to have the number 1 spot? It's literally going to come down to week 18. And like I've been saying, that's exactly what the NFL wanted.
Right.
They wanted this season, these games to come down to next week where everything is still undecided, and we'll figure it out. But go ahead, Ennis, what's your take on the Tennessee Titans? You would have a unique perspective because your team just played against those guys today. What's your take on the what's your take on the Titans right now before we move on?
I'm trying to be objective, but to me, he was right. Like, I guess he gets my team because they're a physical team, and if you can beat them at their game, you can win. Like, you have to be more physical than they are. That's on offense and defense, and you have to stay sound and fundamental. Like, he killed us on the play action because we kept worrying about the run. So if you worried about the run, they're gonna kill you with the play action. This is what it is. Like, I'm like, they was hitting plays off play action because we kept giving up 3-4 yards on the first run. So if they beat you on the first down, you're gonna lose that battle. So like he was saying, when they took Henry out the game, you want to force Ryan Tannehill to beat you. You don't want to force Derrick Henry to beat you. You want to force Ryan, and if he does, you take your hat off to him. That's all you can do. But 9 times out of 10, he's not. And if, like I said, if he does out of that 10 times, you have to take your hat. That Foreman, he's a threat. So if with Henry and Foreman, like that's going to be a 2-headed monster you're not going to want to see in the playoffs. In Nashville with that weather, I'm just saying, like it's going to be hard because you're going to have to play physical to beat them. They're not just worried about Tannehill. They want to get physical, and on defense, they're number 2 against the run. So you're going to have to play physical in order to beat them.
Let's move on to the let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs, the number 2 seed right now. Javon, I'll let you start off with your home team, and you know you have a unique perspective about the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we're gonna go talk about like potential matchups, right? You know, first round, second round, and then you know obviously whoever has the number 1 seed will get a week off. So go ahead and what do you think about the Chiefs going into this postseason play?
Hey, they got a piece of humble pie today, especially that defensive coach, Spags. I don't know if it was a cockiness or what, but I don't know any defense in their right mind is going to leave Jamar Chase one-on-one as much as he did today. That was just ridiculous. But, I mean, going into the playoffs, I feel good. I never lost doubt or hope in the Chiefs. They definitely need to clean up some things after today. But all in all, they look good going into the playoffs. You know, whether it's the number 1 or number 2 seed, I would like the number 1 just to get the extra week of rest. But, you know, whether it's the number 2 going forward, I think they'll look good. Like I said, Tennessee will falter, I believe, and they'll put the AFC Championship game back at Arrowhead anyway. So I'm not really too concerned there.
Isaiah.
I agree with Javon.
Of course you
definitely had a humble piece of pie today. Me personally, though, I think it's better that the Chiefs don't go number 1. Yeah, we talk home field advantage, but I'm a firm believer that certain teams, when you take that week off and don't play a game versus the teams that's constantly keep playing, you could get lackadaisical. You could lose just that little piece of like game speed that everybody else is continuing to play at while you was at home resting, chilling. And I just think this year the Chiefs ain't one of them teams that needs that 1 week off, to be honest. Like, we will struggle coming back into that game playing somebody who has continuously been playing. We sit down, we take a rest. Cool, that's good for the body. But I just think as a team this year, the Kansas City Chiefs, like that, they're not deserving of that. So I think it's better that we don't get the number one spot. Yes, we may have some tough games at like away, but yeah, it's nothing like having your crowd, but I just don't believe the Chiefs need that. And I think that would be the biggest upset for us, is to go number one, have a week off, then lose next week to one of the lower ranked teams, all because we had a week off of rest. I'd rather the Chiefs continue to keep this ball rolling as we have and fight through the playoffs that way than to have a week off and then have to come back and see complete disaster after that week of rest.
If I may add, one thing to look out for, to be of caution, Orlando Brown had a pregame injury of his calf today. So he didn't even play.
I was going to say, I noticed I didn't see him out there.
Then whoever replaced him at left tackle, Niang, he injured himself in the game. And he never returned either.
Wow.
So it's looking like, man, the Chiefs were smart in getting that O-line depth that they did this offseason, like they learned from that Super Bowl. But that would be one thing to watch moving forward, is how that O-line continues moving forward, especially once you get in the playoffs. Not so concerned with against Denver next week, but in the playoffs for sure, when everybody's playing with that extra chip on their shoulder.
Okay. All right. So, to move this thing along, I'm going to have Gina talk about, I'm going to give you two teams, Gina, I want you to touch on for me. Okay. I want you to talk about your lovely friends up in Cincinnati. Talk about the Bengals and talk about the Buffalo Bills for me.
The Bengals, I'm going to definitely give them more credit today. This was a game that I was looking forward to. One, I wanted them to lose, obviously, because that would have helped us. But also kind of like they still needed to prove something to me. Like the game where they just busted us all up was like, okay, but you were playing Stock Boys and, people that just walked in from Walmart and Target and all of that. Like, you should have scored like that. So that didn't tell me anything. But going against the Chiefs, I was like, this will give me a better picture of, what's going on with the Bengals and are they that team? So today I'm willing to give them a little more credit as far as, are they that team? I think they are definitely better than maybe what I want to give them credit for. The only thing is the Chiefs, you dropped a good point. I didn't know that Orlando was injured and didn't play. Like, that's huge when you have, we ought to know as Ravens players, if your O-line is not quite there, that's a big problem. And then you lost the second left tackle, so you were playing a third string out there. So that makes a big difference. But what I was noticing is that the Bengals were able to shut the Chiefs down in that second half. And so I'm just like, But as far as the Bengals are concerned, I'm going to give them credit. Like, I'm not going to be a hater. Like, I love football, period. So even though I cannot stand the Bengals at this point and all of that, like, I'm going to give them their due and their credit, because if you played, you played. And this week, they actually did what they needed to do to retain being first in the division. Like, you had to do it. And they did it. So I'm going to give them credit for that. We got to see how far they're able to, make it into the playoffs, because they've won the division now. They got it. And more power to them. I'm not even going to be salty about that. I'm not. Do I want them to get knocked out in the first round? I do. So call that petty. Okay. But I'm going to give them props for where they are right now. In terms of I see Joe Burrow was like 30 for 39, 446 yards, passing in 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
Like, they laid some offense out there. So if they're able to keep scoring 4 and 5 touchdowns a game and getting 400 and 500 yards, like, what's going to stop them from going all the way?
Right.
That's
Burrow did
interesting.
leave hurt. Burrow left
Huh?
hurt.
Oh,
Burrow
Burrow
left
left
the
hurt
game
too?
hurt.
When?
Went for it. The Cincinnati had the ball 4th down on their end. They could have just kicked the field goal, but they went for it.
They went for it, right?
And it was offsetting penalties, and they went for it again on 4th down.
Oh,
And he got hurt on that play.
Oh, wow.
The defensive ended up getting called for illegal hands to the face and gave Cincinnati a 1st down. So then Cincinnati was able to run down the clock and kick the game-winning field goal. But he left. He left after that second 4th down play hurt.
what type of injury was it? You know?
It's a knee injury.
I thought I seen Allen in there for that kneel down that's stopping the clock. I was wondering. I seen him somebody rolled up on his leg, but they didn't. The announcers weren't talking about it. The next thing you know, Allen was in there because they kept talking about the flags. So I was like, "Is Burrow hurt?" Like, because I was like, maybe he just in there just to spike it or nail it. But that was like weird. I'm glad you. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow. And like you said, it's a war of attrition. It's like who's going to be the last one standing, may be the last team, the team that's the healthiest. And if you suffer a significant injury like your quarterback,
right?
I mean, look at the Ravens, man. We've suffered injuries to a whole bunch of different type of players, but the one injury I felt like we couldn't really afford was Lamar Jackson. Right now, Tyler Huntley has played admirable, in his replacement, but as his replacement, but it's just nothing. It ain't like the real thing. It's like Huntley's good, man, but he ain't LJ. LJ had us off to a 6-2 start.
A backup can only do so much. You see what I'm saying? You can't ask them to go. Nick Foles, that was a once in a lifetime thing. People, you can't depend on that scenario. Like the backup gonna take you to the Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? That's how Jeff Hostetler with the Giants did that when Phil Simms got hurt. But look at that defense the Giants had back then in running game. You know what I'm saying? Everything has to be in line. Like if y'all was healthy and Lamar was the only person, then Huntley probably could get it done.
Right.
But y'all was hurt and COVID, so you asked him Huntley to do a lot. Yeah, he's gonna play well because he's an athlete and he's good. That's what people need to recognize out of that. Like, boy, if he had healthy Baltimore team, like, boy, look out, they might have. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I took from him. Like, boy, if they was healthy everywhere else, they wouldn't have missed a beat. You know what I'm saying? But
that is a good perspective when you look at it. Like it's not just him as the backup, it's also who he's playing with, and he's playing with a lot of guys who that normally wouldn't be
backups and reserve
now the offense
players.
I think with the Ravens offense though, it's not they didn't have as many injuries as the defense, right? But obviously that offensive line has been just
they was in key areas.
Yeah, and
they was key areas for the way y'all run y'all offense. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. Like it doesn't have. Sometimes it don't have to be a lot of injuries. It can be injuries and just a key player that nobody thinks about, like the center that's been the leader of the communication on the line. You know what I'm saying? Like anything can throw off the offense clog as a piece, and people were like, "Well, that's just the guard or the center." But if he's an All-Pro or All-Pro center, you know what I'm saying? Like KC got what y'all got Humphreys or great Humphreys, like what you know what I'm saying? Like he go and then that can just throw off the whole line. It can be anything, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So Ennis, since you got the mic right now, I want to ask you about the Dolphins. You guys have now just fallen to the 9th spot, which puts you 2 spots out of the playoffs. We are right behind you in the 10th spot. What do you think is going to take for the Dolphins? I mean, incredible feat to lose 7 straight games and then turn around and win 7 straight. I mean, you had to know at some point, a loss was coming, but the way things are shaking out, I mean, you guys are 8-8 and, you need help at this point now to get into the playoffs. Do you think you guys still have a chance to get in? And, how you feeling now after losing that game today to the Titans?
The Chargers lose, we're eliminated back to back, so it doesn't even matter if they win, what happens next week. So I wanted them to get in for, like I said, the playoff experience for the young guys, but I didn't realistically think we was gonna make noise in the playoffs. I thought we'd be a dangerous out, but Tennessee woke us up. Like people want to, like I said, our fans are all on Tua because he had a bad game. They feel like it's his fault. To me, it wasn't. He had a bad game, of course, but if we saying our defense was elite, we can't give up 150 rushing yards to the backup, even though Foreman's a beast. But we saying our defense was top three in every defensive category the last 8 weeks, but then we give up all these rushing yards, and Tannehill only has to go for 190 something to beat us by 30. Like, come on, like,
right.
That's my thing. Like, we wasn't gonna. If we would have ran into the Colts, we would have got smacked. Buffalo, it didn't matter. The Chiefs, Cincinnati, we would probably got smacked. Like, we beat teams where offenses was struggling, and our defense was able to play lights out. We wasn't ready on the offensive side of the ball to be in the playoffs. I just wanted it to get to the wild card for the experience for our young guys. But like I said, all these games after getting back to 7-7 was bonus to me. I take my hat off to them for getting to that. I just wanted them to salvage the season because 1-7, they could have been 1-18 or whatever, some crazy number. You know, they showed gut. So I'm not like the rest of our fans beating them up because we didn't make it. We weren't supposed to be here after 1-7. So playoffs, I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, beat my head up. I'm not gonna be down because we didn't make it. Like 1-7, I was already out when we was 1-7. Everything after that was a bonus. This streak was a bonus for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna look at it as a positive. They fought.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of throwing in the towel after being 1-7. So
I'm gonna ask you a question a little bit later on about your quarterback situation because I'm very interested in as to see is what's your perspective on your quarterback situation as far as Tua and possibly, you know, bringing in a guy like Deshaun Watson later on. So we'll touch on that. So right now, like I said, right now the playoff teams that will be in right now, we got the Titans in the AFC, Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Patriots, Raiders, and the Colts rounding out the playoffs for the AFC. If the playoffs were to start today, the Titans would have the bye. Chiefs would open up against the Colts in Kansas City. We would have Cincinnati against we
Raiders,
have the Raiders. Yes, we would have Cincinnati against the Raiders, hosting the Raiders, and then we would have Bills and Patriots in the first round. Out of those matchups, which one stands out to you guys the most? Which one, you know, that you're kind of in, you know, really want to see, whether it be your team or another team? Isaiah, I want to get your perspective on that first, and then we'll go around the room. You on mute?
My bad. I think the biggest game out of all of those on paper is going to be the Chiefs and the Colts. Colts is one of those teams that's at this point they proved that they can play some football and they can hang with the best of them. No, they may not always know how to win, but they can hang with the best of them. And I think that's one of the strongest teams in the AFC that when it comes down to it in a playoff run, like that's one of them teams that you look at the calendar and be like, God, I mean, I don't want to play them. Like they're going to be a tough win. So I don't think that's going to be like an easy game for the Chiefs. If that was the playoff picture and that was the game, it's going to be a tough one. But I think we will pull out. But I think the Colts and the Chiefs would be the best matchup out of that whole matchup you just said.
Yeah. What say you, Gina?
I'm saying that I'm a little mad because I think that Bengals Raiders game is a win for the Bengals, hands down. Mm-hmm. I don't see the Raiders being able to get past. I mean, they got good offense, but I don't see them being able to get past unless Burrow is out, you know, because he's hurt.
Right.
Or if was it Crosby? If Crosby is just able to have a field day and sacking him, giving him pressures and stuff like that, because Burrow is slippery. He's slippery.
Yeah, he is.
There were several plays in that last game against the Ravens. I'm like, how did he get out of that?
Right.
How was he able to throw the ball?
And they're going to give Ward the catch, and they're going to.
I think we're looking at a Cincinnati on to the next round going up against the Raiders. So I would want to see him against some other team. But yeah, out of the teams that's left, yeah, I think they will blow right past the Raiders, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That when, I mean, you know, the Raiders have been tough, you know, and they've been, you know, unbelievably resilient. You know, you lose your head coach, your wide receiver who you just got in the first round last year, killed someone and now is in prison. That's a lot. And for them to be sitting in the 6th seed right now is impressive. They look like they might stay there, to be honest. The only way they could lose that spot is if the Chargers win. And then if the Chargers win out and they lose next week, then the Chargers would jump them. And honestly, I would like to see that Chargers versus the Bengals matchup a lot better. I think that would be the Chargers actually beat the Bengals this year. And I think the Chargers will have a better chance of beating the Bengals.
I don't know, bro. They might have beat them this year, but y'all haven't even confidence in the way that the Chargers have been playing these last several games? Because I don't.
I don't really have confidence in no team at this point. Like, I mean, I thought the Chiefs were just going to walk the Bengals today, and then they started off, up 21-7, and then they ended up losing. So, there's no guarantees as we can, as we know in the NFL, and it's any given Sunday, but definitely this year it's really been any given Sunday. You just never know. Obviously that Bills Patriots game would be juicy, right? That's a divisional game in the playoffs. That would be something, to see the way Bill Belichick would coach against Allen in the playoffs. He'll probably show him something he's never seen, and Allen has still shown the propensity to have those head scratching plays where he tries to do too much and he can cost his team a game. So that'll be interesting to see how, because I believe then that's the game this year where the Patriots beat the Bills with 3 passes, right? Like they only threw the ball 3 times this year in that game. They only threw the ball 3 times and still won the game. So, I mean, Bill he's going to figure a way out, he's going to figure a way to beat that team. And that one would be in Buffalo as of right now. So.
Big question. Do we think that the Bengals will beat the Browns this time?
Oh, next week.
And that last matchup was nasty.
Yeah. I said it earlier. I was talking to someone earlier, and I said I believe, the NFL is about matchups, right? Like, sometimes it's not just about the record. Sometimes you go up against a team that just match up really well with you, and I think Cleveland's personnel matches up with Cincinnati really, really well, right? Because they got those corners. They have decent corners, right? They have speed in the linebacker position, and they can run the air out of the ball. All of those things are things that Cincinnati kind of struggles with. I think Kansas City struggled today to win that game was because you guys couldn't run the ball when you needed to. Kansas City, they gonna put points on the board. They throw the ball a lot, but the only problem sometimes being one-dimensional like that, even if that one dimension is awesome, it can really hurt you in a game where you need to really run some clock and keep the ball away from the other offense who can also score just as good as you can. So I just think Cleveland, they definitely present some problems for Cincinnati. And I'm sure nothing would make them happier than to, ruin Cincinnati's chances of hosting a playoff game than to, by beating them or whatever. So, I mean, at this point, Cincinnati has the division wrapped up, so they're in the playoffs no matter what. They could go from the 3 seed to the 4 seed, depending on what happens in the Buffalo game, but they could drop down a seed or so. But
that changes the whole matchups. If Cincinnati loses,
right, it does, because then Cincinnati will play New England.
It really alters a lot, and so and we don't know the extent of Burrow's injury. Does he play next week or not? Do you save him you secured the division? Do you go ahead and save him for the playoffs and let him rest, nurse the injury, not necessarily rest? But I think that's going to be intriguing.
It is.
All those teams with them 2 being 10-6, them and the Bills. I think that's something to watch.
In New England, they could end up going to New England for a playoff game. If you Cincinnati, do you want, because that defense New England guy is nasty. And then also they could end up going to Buffalo. So if I'm a Cincinnati fan, I'm like, look, let's just win out so we can hold on to this 3 spot. And that way whoever we play, we can have them coming to us. And, obviously they're going to have whoever's in the 6 seed coming to them if they stay in that 3 seed. So it's going to be real interesting. It looks like my Ravens and Dolphins might be home for the playoffs. But my perspective.
A quick question, Matt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know about the Chiefs secondary. Can you guys tell me about your secondary? Because I see you stopped the run again. Joe Mixon was 12 for 46 yards. So y'all actually stopped the run, but y'all obviously got burned by Tyler. Well, actually, by Jamar Chase, it seemed
That's-
like because
Jamal Chase had three. He had 3 touchdowns, I think. Jamal Chase did. It's just like number 49 needs to go, and why they ran man coverage on Jamar Chase so much, I never understand. Like, that's the one player that could have killed you the most, and you chose to have him in single man-on-man coverage most of the game. What did you think was going to happen? Like, that's why I say I don't know if it was a cockiness or what on Spags' part, but it killed him. We had Cincinnati 3rd and 27 on that last drive that they ended up winning the game. All you want to do is just bring them to 4th down. No, he sent an all-out blitz, left Jamar Chase one-on-one on the sideline on a go route, 1st down, 30 yards.
That sounds like a Ravens play right there.
Definitely.
You went an all-out blitz.
All-out blitz.
Patrick Mahomes would have had about 4 or 5 minutes on the clock if we just let him get in field goal range. I'd rather take being down 3, giving Patrick Mahomes the ball with 4 minutes than being down a touchdown potentially with 4 minutes.
I agree.
Come on, like just stop him.
Joe Burrow eats the blitz,
and we good.
He's really good against the blitz though. Like he's shown that several times this year. He's really.
It wasn't even that he was good against the blitz. He has good receivers because the ball wasn't necessarily the good ball. He just threw it and said, "My guy's better than your guy." That's what Burrow's been doing.
He knows where to go with the ball, though. That's something to be said about knowing where to go.
He can go to 3 different receivers with the ball. They got hands. Like, it doesn't make Burrow good against the blitz. He says, my guy is better than your guy. I believe my guy is going to come down with the ball. It's not no accurate pass. It's nothing that. Matter of fact, the cornerback actually tipped the ball on the 30-yard game. But he believes his guy is better than your guy. And you give him that option, he's going to take it every day.
Yeah. I mean, man, listen, you know, if Jamar Chase doesn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think
really rigged.
It's rigged, bro, because this kid, like, we're talking about a rookie. Like, think about as we're having this conversation. We're talking about a rookie. And we're saying, why did you leave him one-on-one? Like, you should be able to leave a guy on a rookie one-on-one. But, you know, clearly he's not a regular rookie. And people forget he didn't even play football last year. He sat out last year in college. He didn't even play. He opted out with the COVID situation. So he took a year off, came to the NFL and picked up right where he left off at LSU. Like that kid is talented. I don't think we've seen anyone, as much as Jefferson last year, he had a really good year for the Vikings, and he was Offensive Rookie of the Year. And that's crazy that they were teammates at LSU. Chase is even better to me. He had
11 receptions for 266 yards.
And 3 touchdowns.
That's
ridiculous.
Right. We had to take a detour on that one because, geez, man, he hurted us twice. So,
he had one more catch than Waddle had on Monday night, but Waddle they knew had the yardage that he had.
Man, he's a dog, man. He's definitely a dog. And it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it's about matchups. So I do feel like if Cincinnati can hold on to that 3 spot, it'll be in their best interest because they get a better matchup holding on to that 3 spot. So, we're going to move on to the NFC in a second. But yeah, Gina, talk to what happened to our Ravens today? I mean, what happened? I would be remiss if I didn't, we didn't kind of touch on our team and talk about what happened. Like, what? We were so close. We were up. I mean, we were leading the whole game. What happened? Tell me.
Dude, first of all, you can't say what's going to happen after a certain play, but honestly, I was hurt at the end of the second quarter. We were nearing the end of the second quarter. A minute or something left on the board, or 2 minutes. All you had to do was run the ball because the Rams were not Freeman was getting his thing on today on the field. Why did you switch to a passing call, got an interception, and that's how they were able to get that touchdown right before the half? We were about to go into halftime with them with 0 points on the board. Do you know how much pressure that would have put on them coming back in the second half? And they would have started messing up and doing stuff because they would have felt pressure to be down, 13 or 17-0. Why did we get 13? Why did we give them a chance? Why didn't we just keep on running the ball, run the clock out the rest? See, it's those situational decisions that has cost us games this season. Despite the fact that we've had all of these injuries, we have been in those games, and those losses hurt. Like, I'd rather
who do you put that on, though?
Loss.
Who do you put that on? Do you put that on John Harbaugh or Greg Roman?
I'm gonna have to put it on both of them because why do we keep doing it? Like, if the running is working, keep going. Don't abandon the run. Like, why do we abandon? There was no reason to throw the ball near the end of the half. There was no reason to do that. Like, sure, it was Huntley's fault, but why did he have that call in his helmet?
You got to protect your
pass the ball. Just give the ball to Freeman. Even Murray got out there and tried to get his life on. He was like, "Oh, I want some of this. Freeman can't have it all." Why did we even do that? And it was that you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. We can't say for sure, even if they didn't get that touchdown, that something would not have happened. But at least the favor would have been on our side,
right?
Instead of them going in with that touchdown and then only being down 3 points,
right?
Like, that's nothing. So I'm just like, why? We keep losing these games by 1 point. Just one.
You know, my perspective, whenever you have a lot of games that you lose by 1-3 points, things like how we've been losing a lot of games by that margin, it's coaching. Because, you know, like blowouts and all of that, like if you see a blowout, it's pretty much that team was better than your team that day. You know what I mean? It's nothing, not much you can do about that as a coach. But when you see games like the 2 games, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, where we lose because we go for it on fourth, we go for the 2-point conversion and we don't get it. And then we see this game where we abandon the run when the run was working in certain situations. Like you said, you know, no one knows exactly how the second half would have played out, but you go into the second half with a much more favorable score because now you up 14. At that time when we was up 14, I believe we was up to 13 or 14. We would have been going in the half, right? And then you see after the half, we got a fumble on Stafford. So in the beginning of the third quarter, we get a fumble on Stafford. So imagine you come out, you up 14-0, and then you get a fumble on Stafford. Then you got a chance to go up 21-0.
But we only went up 3 though.
You know, exactly. We had a chance to go up 21-0 in the third quarter. I don't care how good their offense is. Stafford wasn't playing that well. He was still, he turned the ball over twice, you know, and we did score on those. We capitalized on those. But like I said, those type of games, when you lose by 1 point or whatever, it comes down to coaching. It comes down to a decision the coaches made to either go for the 2-point conversion when you could have just played for overtime, or in this situation, you just abandon the run. And that's why you have so many fans out there, you know, calling for Harbaugh's, you know, job or not. I'm not one of those people. I just feel like Harbaugh has done a really good job to even keep this team competitive with the amount of injuries, because not many coaches could do that. But there definitely needs to be a shakeup in the coaching staff. I think with Greg Roman, his situational coaching is really bad. Like, if you have to come up with one play to get a first down or a 2-point conversion, he just, I don't, it's like he just like looks at a sheet and be like, all right, let's just go with this one. You know what I mean? It's like those are situations you're supposed to have your team prepared for. And I get you're dealing with a backup quarterback, so I don't know how much they're installing with him, but there's no excuse. Greg Roman's got to do a better job in situational football and making sure his team is prepared for those situations, because too many times this year we haven't been prepared in those situations.
And we gave up those few big plays like normal. We gave up some big plays. And there was some tackling issues today. Which has been pretty much all season. I mean, there's some games we played pretty good tackling, but pretty much tackling has been an issue all season. So I'm sure Eric is going to be having that on his agenda as far as making sure he bringing guys on the defense that can tackle. The defense may not even look the same next year. So I'm gonna go over I'm just gonna go through the NFC playoff picture real quick, and you guys just tell me a team that stands out. We don't have to go in detail like we did the AFC, but right now we got the number 1 seed Green Bay Packers, number 2 seed LA Rams,
who, by the way, they if the Cardinals lose, they would win the division today. You got the Buccaneers with the 3 seed, Cowboys in the 4 seed, Arizona in the 5th seed as of right now, and followed by Eagles and 49ers to wrap up the wild card teams with the 6th and 7th seed. Which
Bro,
Ennis, I'm gonna go to you first. Which team
just stop
stands out
after
to you?
Green Bay?
Huh?
Just stop after Green Bay. There's
That's
no
the team that
discussion
stands out to you the most?
Bro, Aaron Rodgers is on a mission. Y'all don't understand. He's getting out of there. He's gonna give that dude a bowl and like deuces. What can you say after that? You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't tell that man nothing once he delivers a chip. Like, that's what okay. I gotta come back and win one more. What can you say to me? Like, y'all, the fans, nothing. Can none of y'all say nothing if I deliver? Okay. He came back and he's on course. Like, bro, ain't nobody stopping Rodgers. Nobody over there.
I feel like they've been doing it all. That's every season. Every season,
Yeah,
the last couple of seasons, Green Bay's had the 1 or 2 or 3 seed, and they fumbled the bag.
But this time, when they get down to the championship game, NFC championship game, he gonna make that play. LaFleur's not gonna handcuff. That's what happened last year. He handcuffed him. LaFleur had to learn. Like, bro, you tripping. Like, you got one of the greatest out there right now. You don't need to do nothing but call a play. If he don't like, he audible. Bro, do your thing. I'm gonna make sure this defensive coordinator doing his job. Aaron, go do your thing. And that's what he's been doing this year. I'm telling you, the play, I knew when after the last game, when he said he looked at Devontae and Devontae looked at him, and they didn't do what the play was called. Yeah, you let Aaron and Devontae do their thing. There's nobody stopping them on the NFC side. There's no defense that's going to stop them, bro. Not Dallas, definitely not Arizona, definitely not the Eagles, not the Rams. Like, bro, he's on a mission on that side. It's going to have to be somebody on the AFC to stop him, period.
Green Bay's defense has been a little suspect. Isaiah, you got a rebuttal for that one? How you feel? You feel Green Bay is the same team that stands out to you the most?
I think I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. Aaron Rodgers, it's Aaron Rodgers. He do his thing. Just kind of double check. He put on that belt. He go out there. He make plays. He do what he got to do. But it always seemed like when it comes to that big time game, Green Bay don't know how to finish. It's like we can say, oh, they get robbed. They've been robbed. You know what I mean? By the Saints, by whoever. You know what I mean? Like, there's been those times where Green Bay, no doubt, should have won that game, but they didn't. So I won't believe it until I see it. Like, at this point,
right
where I'm at with it, like, A-Rod, like, you got to go out there and put on that belt again. And this time, you got to do it. Like, that's the only way I'm going to believe it. But other than that, from the NFC side, like, who else can you really put there, though? Like,
I'm gonna tell you who I'm gonna put there, but I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
I don't see the Rams because Matthew Stafford, he's won some games, but Matthew Stafford ain't that quarterback that's just gonna take over a game completely, especially with all the weapons that he has and the defense that he has. Like, they should be running it, but they won't. Tom Brady.
Hold on. The Rams going to Green Bay in December. Remember that now. Okay. Go ahead, bro.
It's all good. Tom Brady, you can never count Brady out. Don't get me wrong. Don't ever count Brady out. He might be one of the biggest success stories in NFL of all time. Nobody else will have his story. But I think with the situation today with Antonio Brown walking off the field, taking off his jersey, taking off everything, saying excuses to the crowd, that's going to bring a lot of publicity that does not need to be there into Tampa Bay. Coaches is going to be looked at, players is going to be looked at, all because Antonio Brown don't know how to act. And that was probably his last game ever in the NFL. Nobody can take that man.
I agree.
So they will have that on their back. But other than that, I'm not even going to go down the list. So really, I'm going to say Brady, don't count him out. But A-Rod has to prove it. Like, Eagles, you know what I mean? Shout out to Jalen Hurts, he doing his thing. Young boy out there coming to kill it. Like, they on the rise.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't see no NFC team. Like,
I'm Isaiah. I'm right there. You took the words on. It's Brady, man. Listen, regular season is one thing. But when it's winner take all, and you got to put your chips on the table, Brady has shown that he can make the necessary plays, and he can really bring his team. You know what I'm saying? He gonna drag that team, man. And even without AB, they don't even need AB. Like that receiving core is already solid. Like they what's the Godwin? He'll be back for the playoffs. They still got Mike Evans. They still got the tight ends. They got Gronk. As long as he got Gronk, you know, him and Gronk will play pitch and catch all day. They can still run the football. They still have a very formidable defense, you know, and I just think when the chips are on the table, if you put Rodgers against Brady, and we all see that being at Lambeau don't matter because Brady beat Rodgers in Lambeau last year, and the cold don't matter because Brady played in New England his whole career. So I just believe, to me, like you said with Rodgers, I believe it when I see it. I also believe that Brady ain't going to do it until I see him not do it. So to me, the team, if I'm going down 49ers, Eagles, Cardinals, Cowboys, I mean, let's just go down. Aaron Rodgers, I've already said.
Can I give a small pushback, though? Small pushback. Like last year, y'all got to take into account. The Tampa Bay Bucks was always breaking at the door with as far as playoffs. They just had Jameis Winston. So you get Brady. The team is hungry. The team is hungry to get it done for Brady. They don't want the Super Bowl. They're not hungry no more. You got to look over there at Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl a long time ago. Them players is gone. So
they 12-4, bro. They 12-4. How they not hungry?
If you were an NFL player, you ain't hungry for a Super Bowl.
They don't care about the regular season. They want to get back to where they lost that.
Suspect. I think they're all suspect. Cowboys, Packers,
all
Buccaneers, Rams. They are all suspect.
Yes.
I can't give it to anybody right now. I'm literally in the case of Sarah, whatever will be with the NFC, because they are all suspect at any given time. You can knock any of them off.
Yeah.
I mean, Green Bay just barely got past the Ravens kindergarten squad, y'all. Just barely. So I'm just like, all of them, everybody this season, like you said, Matt, and all of you guys, it's been any given Sunday. Mm-hmm. So to me, none of the teams in the NFC has shown, you know, that's going to be the team to beat. Not even Tampa Bay was losing to the Jets for most of the game. They did come back and win, and you have to give it to them. They did come back and pull it out in the end, but you were losing to the Jets. The Jets, most of the game. So all of the teams are suspect. I'm just going to have to wait and see what they do. I'm curious what the Cowboys do today. You know, if they're going to try to do something to pull ahead, but they're all sus to me, every last one of them.
They are, right?
It goes back to what I said when we were talking earlier. In the NFC, if I had to pick a team, I'm going to go with the Bucks. And the only reason why is because they got Brady. Mm-hmm. And Godwin's out for the season. You know, he tore his ACL. So he's gone. But the whole NFC is weak. Brady went to the NFC on purpose. He knew he couldn't. The competition in the AFC with these young quarterbacks now and these young players. Right. Man, he knew he couldn't hang with them no more.
The AFC is tough.
The AFC is where all the competition at. You got the Cowboys. The Cowboys right now struggling with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals lost to Detroit. Like, the NFC is weak. And I'm not even going to try to predict who coming out the NFC. It's going, like Gina, I'm with Gina. It's going to be what it's going to be. But if I had to pick a team, I'm picking the Bucks. And that's just because they have Tom Brady. No other reason.
Oh, absolutely. Brady, like I said, you know, if you got to put your money on it, you putting your money on Brady, man. Because you
I don't have confidence in their secondary. I'm sorry.
Who's that?
I didn't see the Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, light Bundy up. I'm not confident in that secondary. It's the same secondary from last year. And Aaron Rodgers going against that secondary, I'm good. Because Brady...
But in this, here's what I'm gonna push back though. You said it's the same secondary from last year, right? Well, that secondary won a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, because of that
a team with no O-line. That's what I'm saying. Like,
right? You see what I'm saying?
No, I'm not even talking
that game with a healthy Chiefs offense.
I'm not even talking about the Chiefs. I'm talking about
that's the Super Bowl that they won against. They won the Super Bowl.
No, listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. They went through the NFC playoffs to get to the Super Bowl with that secondary. He beat Green Bay with that secondary. He beat Washington with that secondary. He beat who's the other team they beat? Who's the other team they beat in the playoffs that year? New
He
Orleans.
barely beat Green Bay.
They
now.
beat New
Don't
Orleans
act
with
like
that
he
secondary.
Barely beat Washington. They barely beat Washington too.
They barely beat Green. Don't act like they spanked Green Bay now. Come on,
But they beat them.
I mean, Aaron and LaFleur messed it up on that drive. They was right there, down there. Now, don't act like they couldn't have won that game.
If the secondary was so, if the secondary was so bad, then the game should.
He drove down there. They drove down there to win the game. They just blew it on what down it was.
That's why I said.
But
that's the point. In it's Tom Brady.
Right.
If anything, the only reason why you going with the Bucks is because they have Tom Brady who can lead the team. Like it's not about that.
I think they wasn't even supposed to win that game. Aaron and LaFleur blew that.
Tom Brady,
they know that.
Bucks should have lost to the Jets today, but once again, throws a pass out there and it gets caught by look. My receiver's better than your receiver. He threw it out there. Like that's exactly how the Jets.
I had too many years of that dude. I'm never rooting for him. I don't care.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they're gonna choose. Now the truth coming out. There you go.
They're gonna choose.
He could be on Baltimore Ravens, and I would hate y'all right now for taking him in Baltimore. I would care if it was for the Arizona, the TV League. I would root against him. I don't care what team you're on.
All right, so there you go. There's the truth. I knew it was gonna come out at some time.
You gotta let a person keep on talking.
Yo, you knew the truth was gonna come out. Oh man!
I'm trying not to say.
He was too passionate. I knew it. He was too passionate. Yeah.
He was like, "Hey,
we struck a nerve with Tom Brady.
I hate hearing that name.
I'm saying, but I just wanted to draw it out of him instead. You know.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. He's a Dolphins fan, so it makes sense.
You know. All right. So look, y'all. So speaking of Brady, right? Last year he went to the Bucks from New England. He won a Super Bowl. This year, free agency, there's going to be a couple of other Hall of Fame signal callers that may be on the move. So we got Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and then there's Deshaun Watson, who's also out there as well. Where do we think these guys are going to land? What is the best fit for these guys? I'm gonna go. Let's go Isaiah first, then we'll go Gina, then we'll go Javon, and then we'll go Ennis.
Be honest, I'm gonna start with Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see Aaron Rodgers in another uniform. It just seems so fitting for him to be in the green and yellow. But if we look around the league, teams that needs quarterbacks, I just don't know where Aaron Rodgers will land.
I thought the same thing about Brett Favre, bro, back in the day. I never thought he would leave Green Bay.
Yeah, but Brett Favre.
Yeah, that was different. Green Bay wanted to move on from Brett Favre, and Brett Favre still wanted to play.
Like, when you think about Green Bay, the only name other than Devontae Adams come up, Aaron Rodgers. The state, Aaron Rodgers. Like, that's him. I just don't see him with another team. And some of the teams around the NFL that need quarterbacks, I just don't believe he would want to play them. When it comes to Russell Wilson, I think Russell Wilson is a phenomenal athlete, but I think, me personally, I think Russell Wilson is at that pinnacle of his career. And I don't think you're going to always get the elite play out of him like we're used to seeing anymore. But if I had to put Russell Wilson anywhere, I don't know. That was a tough one too. Like, that one is tough for me too. Like, I always see him in Seattle. Like, nobody wants to go to New York and play with the Giants. Nobody wants to go down to Jacksonville and play with the Jaguars. Nobody wants to go to Detroit and play with the Lions. You got these young quarterbacks that's in, like, Chicago. Like, that's your future. Why bring in a quarterback when you got your young quarterback on the rise? Like, that's just going to kill, like, confidence and things like that. So, I don't know. And then Deshaun Watson situation, I just feel like that was a toss in the air because in these past few years, when I say, like, racial, anything like that has been, like, number one across America. Like Deshaun Watson is one of those situations where whatever team he goes to is going to affect that team because everybody is going to look at it as that team took him and they must think it's okay to act how he acted, do what he did. So it's going to be really hard for him to step into any team and be accepted as okay, and the team will be happy. Like, yeah, you got certain people that's going to be like, damn, we got Deshaun Watson on our team. Bet we can make some noise. But on the other half of it is that worldly view is going to be attacked on you so hard that sometimes that can make or break. So with the Deshaun Watson situation, like me personally, I can only speak for myself in this instance, but if I was in the NFL and I was one of those star players, I would do my damn best not to put myself in a situation to where it can come back and bite me like the situation that he's in. Like, you got all the money, you got all the fame, you got all the success, but you have to move a little smarter when it comes to dealing with that aspect of life. Like, you have to have your ducks in a row. I'm not going to allow somebody to mess up my whole career because you want to go and say, I did X, Y, Z, blase, blase, blah. He the young Bill Cosby, bro. Like, that's what it's looking like for that man. So it's just like, I don't even see a team really taking him. Like, he's going to be in the Colin Kaepernick situation, I believe, and that's sad. Because Colin Kaepernick, what he did, like, it ain't even nearly close to that, but he was scrutinized for it. So it's just like, I just don't see a team biting because you messing up revenue, and that's what it's all about when it comes to the NFL. I need my money. Them owners, everybody, I need that money. And I'm sorry, players come a dime a dozen. There will be another Deshaun Watson that comes along, so I don't see where a team is going to bite and be like, bet, we're going to take him and run with it.
Go ahead, Gina.
So, first of all, does Isaiah not remind you of Earl Thomas the way he looks right there? Like, seriously.
Got the Earl Thomas going on.
Thomas look. It's the twist and the hoodie and all that, and the beard and the stash. I was like, why do you look like Earl Thomas there right there? So as far as Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, I agree with Isaiah about Deshaun Watson. I don't think any team. I would be surprised if any team would touch them with a 10-foot pole. So I think all of these legal issues, whatever they are, might come to a head next season. I think he's definitely gonna get suspended by the NFL, even if he's cleared legally, just for a good PR look. And like you said, if somebody does pick him up, it's such a PR nightmare. I'm not even sure. So, in terms of Russell Wilson. And Aaron Rodgers created this whole soap opera last season. I think he's one of those people, he likes to move the needle himself and wants to see how much he can move the needle. And if he can move the needle, like, that really feeds into his very soul. So I would not be surprised if Aaron Rodgers, with all of this stuff and the fact that he has an out, goes ahead and stays in Green Bay. If he doesn't, I can definitely still see Denver, because Denver obviously does not have a quarterback yet that I think they're, that is considered the quarterback of the future. I don't think they consider Bridgewater or Drew Lock a quarterback of the future. And Colorado or Denver is like a big time city. It's not an East Coast city, but it is a big time city. So I could almost see him, and Elway will probably just do whatever, let him do whatever he wanted and bring in whoever he wants. And I think Devontae is going to follow behind him regardless of where he goes. So Denver is the only place that seems reasonable. Let it be known this day, January 2nd, 2022. I do not want Aaron Rodgers nor Russell Wilson to come to the AFC North. So to come to the Steelers, I don't want any parts of that for the Steelers. Not at all. I don't want that smoke here. And I disagree with you about Russell, kind of being past his prime. I don't think that's the case at all. Let Russell Wilson walk into a situation that Tom Brady walked into, where you got an offensive line, you got a great defense, you got a running game and some good wide receivers. I think Russell Wilson can do exactly what Tom did, if not more. So that dude has not had an O-line practically his entire career. He's not had an O-line there in Seattle. And they've only had the success that they did because of having defense that Legion of Boom. And because Russell is one of the best dual threat QBs. And that's why they've been able to do what they wanted to do. If Russell goes somewhere with an O-line, I think it's a whole, and some receivers, it's a whole different ball game.
And he cooking right now. I know they playing against Detroit, but they up 31-7 right now.
Right. Detroit, he's definitely. I can't. I think Russell, in Denver, I really can't see Russell anywhere either. But it needs to be a situation like what Tom did, but Tom had. And then as far as Aaron Rodgers, he could stay there. He could. People mention Pittsburgh. I don't think so. I just don't think he want to be in the city of Pittsburgh. It is a storied team with a storied history, but I just don't think with him and his girlfriend, Pittsburgh it will be where he want to go. Now for Russell, it's not that far from New York, so Sierra might not be mad at that because Pittsburgh is not too far from New York. So just being on the coast is cool. But I think we're going to talk about this all in the off season, and I think they're both going to wind up staying where they were, and we just played into the soap opera like we did this past season.
What say you, Javon? What you think? Where the Legends going at this off season?
Gina's last statement said it all. I mean, we talking about players who still in contracts, so I mean, a team's got to be willing to give up something to get it. And I don't see that happening, not for these caliber style of players. And we forget Russell's early success came early in his career, where the Seattle could spend the money on other aspects of the team. See, Russell Wilson's contract really absorbed and took away from the team being able to spend in other areas, and that's why we see him struggle like we do now. And but I mean, who's going to be willing to absorb?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but before the season started, Green Bay redid Aaron Rodgers' contract, which makes him basically a free agent this year.
They restructured I just looked it up. It said that they got him in contract till 2023.
No, that was based off his old contract, but they restructured, which basically gives him an out after this season because that was the agreement. Him and the GM basically agreed this was to be his last season. And he wasn't going to do any extension, and he wasn't going to go forward. So basically, they basically wrote it in the contract. Basically, that the way the contract is that basically this will be his last season in Green Bay, unless after the season he resigns. The only way I can see that happening is if they trade Jordan Love, and then they recommit to Aaron Rodgers, but. I think Aaron's gone, man. He made too much of a fuss to stay. That's just my opinion. I feel like he's made too much of a fuss to stay. Yeah, they doing good on the field, but like if you're the GM, do you want to deal with that every offseason? You know what I mean? Because they had just went to the NFC Championship last year. So you can't say, well, look at the success on the field and how it correlates to him staying because they went to the NFC Championship last year and he still wanted to leave. He still made a big fuss this offseason. So them winning this year, honestly, if like Ennis says, if they do win the Super Bowl, I think he definitely out because he gonna feel like there's nothing else I can give them. There's nothing else, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna walk off. That'd be, because he's all about ego too. He's like, all right, I won a Super Bowl. I got y'all a Super Bowl. I'm out. Good luck with Jordan Love. You know what I'm saying? Like because think about it, if he win you a Super Bowl and then leaves, it's like. It's just like, you happy because you got the Super Bowl, but you're like, oh man, like what could be, and then Jordan Love we still don't know what Jordan Love is. So, that'll be a way for him to really stick at the Green Bay is like he helps them in one aspect by winning the Super Bowl, but then he leaves. If I'm the owner though, if I'm the GM, I'm thinking like, as long as I got the ring, you can go ahead. We're gonna have to rebuild at some point anyway at the quarterback position. As far as Russell, to me, I'm putting my money on him going to New York. They got the salary cap space. It's where Sierra wants to go. He kind of talked about New York in the offseason. They got the resources. They got a pretty talented skill positions they will put around them. You got Saquon. They got Galladay.
Been injured.
They got the kid. you know what I mean? Yeah, they got injuries, but at the same time, if those guys can stay healthy, you know, he got something. The cupboard isn't completely bare, is what I'm saying. So he got Saquon in the backfield. He's got Galladay. He's got Kadarius Toney. He's got a couple other guys. They need to really build that offensive line. They have been committing resources to it, but it hasn't really turned out because they drafted the kid Hernandez a couple of years ago. He was supposed to be like a mauler, and I don't know how he's turning out, but they need to build the offensive line. Like Gina said, you know, wherever he goes, he needs to have a line in front of him that can protect him. And I think they got the money, the resources, and they got 2 first-round draft picks that'll be back-to-back that they can use to really, you know, build around Russ, you know, so to really build around Russ. Now, obviously, one of those first-round draft picks are probably going to go to Seattle to get Russ because unlike Aaron Rodgers, Russ is under contract next year.
Hey, Matt, real quick, I think y'all got that confused. Because so according to Rodgers' contract, it voided out his last year. So 7 days before the 2023 league year is when his deal is void. So technically, Rodgers is still under contract next season. But with the deal of them being able to void that, with that last year being void, you can have a situation where Rodgers puts pressure and basically saying, I don't want to play. He could put pressure on the Packers to maybe want to get something for him before he becomes a true free agent. Or Packers could put the pressure to
I think what it is, though, I think we're both right. I think what it is, because I'm reading, I think he has an opt-out. Like, there's like an opt-out year where Green Bay could, like, let him go next year where it won't like hurt their salary cap or something because he's supposed to be $26.9 million under cap for them next year. But I think they created some type of space. I remember watching the draft when it came through, and they said that Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers agreed to some type of opt-out for 2023.
Well, yeah, it's for his last year of his contract. Yeah. So this is July 29th is what I'm reading, the article I'm reading. Okay. So he don't have the right to decide because it said it like moving forward. His contract doesn't grant him the right to decide where he'll suit up in 2022. All right. So he's not a true free agent after this season.
Oh, that's interesting because I heard this.
Here you go, right here. It says Aaron Rodgers indeed coming. Is he coming back to Green Bay for one more season with the rework contract paving the way for his return? So they reworked the contract. They're saying basically it would make he would be like available in 2022. So it says Rodgers that allow him to become an unrestricted free agent in 2022. That will indeed make this upcoming season Rodgers' last in Green Bay. So, and this was so because you got to be careful, you know, it's a lot of stuff out there because like
NFL
I said,
Network.
Yeah, this is
NFL.
Yeah, I thought that's what. I thought that was the whole reason he worked his deal out.
Right, he reworked it just so he could come back this 1 year. Right. He reworked it, so I think he'll be a free agent this year. That's why they all, you know, all the shows have been talking about how he can end up in Denver or Pittsburgh next year, and people saying that they don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I don't think he's really under contract. I think they probably got some type of rights refusal where they could trade him. You know what I mean? Where they can get something for him instead of just letting him walk clean. So it's probably like a deal where they got worked out where it's like, all right, cool. I am Aaron Rodgers. I'll pick the team I want to go to, and then I'll allow Green Bay to negotiate some type of deal that'll get Green Bay some type of compensation. I mean, obviously they would get a draft pick if Aaron Rodgers signed as a free agent somewhere. So they would get a draft pick, but I think they could get a lot more than that for Aaron Rodgers, especially after he's played. He's probably going to be what, MVP again? He's probably going to be back-to-back MVP. So his value is still pretty high for a guy older in his career. So you got Russell, and then to me, I disagree with Isaiah and Gina in this aspect of I think Deshaun Watson will be back on the team next year. I just believe that the NFL has always given second chances to guys who have broken the law. Colin Kaepernick didn't break the law. Colin Kaepernick stood up against the NFL, which is why he is not in the league. But Deshaun Watson, he was just meeting, and Ennis would know this, he was just meeting this offseason with the owner of the Miami Dolphins, who was thinking about trading for him. And the only reason why they didn't trade for him was because they didn't get enough time. They wanted more time to talk with him and sit down and talk with him. There's already been interest in Deshaun Watson. So to think that he won't go to another team when other teams have already shown interest in him, he would have probably gotten traded this year if the Texans hadn't been stubborn for the majority of the offseason saying, well, we don't want to trade him. We don't want to trade him. We don't want to trade him. And then right at the last minute, right before the I believe it was the trade deadline, they let Miami talk to him to try to negotiate some type of deal. But Miami needed to talk to him to be able to really dig deep to find out, what actually really happened and is it going to be an issue going forward. So someone's going to definitely, and we know Washington football team, Daniel Snyder don't care. You think he got some morale? Like he's in trouble for his stuff. So you don't think he'll take Deshaun Watson? He'd take Deshaun Watson in a heartbeat. He in trouble for the same stuff. So he would take Deshaun Watson. The Dolphins will probably take Deshaun Watson. I can name a couple of teams. I think the Giants will probably consider him. I think if Russ leaves Seattle, I think Seattle would consider him. You know what I mean? I just think we've seen it. AB got a second chance after all the stuff he did. Now, I think AB's done now after what he did today, but AB got another chance. We've seen countless guys who've been arrested. I mean, look at Kareem Hunt. He's on video shoving a woman to the ground, and yet he's employed by the Cleveland Browns. So we got to understand what Colin Kaepernick did was try to push against the machine that is the NFL. He took a knee, and then he also tried to sue the NFL. So that's why they blackballed him. That's why he's never going to play in the NFL again, because Colin Kaepernick went against the machine. Deshaun Watson ain't pushed against the machine. He just did something in the off. He did something that he shouldn't have been doing, or whatever he was doing. But NFL has never been a place of morale. They've never been a place of integrity. They've always hired and gave guys second chances who have been in trouble with the law or been in trouble and things like that. And then with a team that does hire him is going to justify it by saying, well, up until this point, he's been a model citizen. Throughout his college career, he's done stuff for the homeless and he's done all of these things. They're gonna name all the stuff he's done in his before this happened to justify it. I mean, look, Michael Vick got a second chance, and he was fighting them dogs, and they thought that was just like an atrocity that he would never get back in the league. So we just gotta look at who we're talking about. We're talking about the NFL. As long as you can play and you play at a position that is a premium, whereas a quarterback, it's only 32 of them, and not all 32 of them are actually good. He's going to get another job. Should he get another job? That's a whole different conversation. But he's going to get another job. And I just don't know exactly what team yet. I want to say, I think as good as Tua has played, I think the Dolphins are still interested in him. So what do you think, Gina? I mean, I think, Gina, did you want to say something?
I went. I think we haven't heard.
Oh, you did? Okay, so we got everybody on that topic.
Javon, yeah.
But I just think he'll be back in the league. Like, we saw the NFL do business before, and they've always given guys second chances that probably don't deserve them. And then to close out, we got Big Ben's retirement. He announced his retirement last week. This will also impact the free agency. We talked about Aaron Rodgers could go to Pittsburgh or whatever. This could also impact that. What do we think about Ben Roethlisberger's retirement and how that impacts the AFC North? AFC North. Go ahead, Gina.
I hope he decides not to retire and comes back next season, because if he comes back next season, that helps out the Ravens. I think there's going to be a struggle for the Pittsburgh, although they're never out of it, as you can see. They're always going to be contenders. So I hope he comes back. But if he does retire, I don't think that they think Mason Crosby is the answer. I don't think that they think Haskins is the answer either. Wouldn't mind seeing Haskins or Mason Crosby get a go, because, again, I think this bodes well for the Ravens. But I don't know if they would. I would be surprised if they go after somebody in the draft. You guys know I don't really watch college, but I'm just kind of starting to watch it. But from what I understand, there really aren't any top QBs in this draft class coming up, is what I've heard. So I'm just like, I'm not thinking he's going to go and draft somebody there. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, honestly. I hope he comes back, or they play Haskins, or they play Mason Crosby, because I'm just like, yep, that'll be a team we won't have to worry about next season. It'll only be the Bengals, because I hope they sign Mayfield to a 10-year, $100 million salary to keep him there in the Browns, because then we ain't gotta worry about them either.
Yeah, keep Big Ben, but he announced his retirement. That'll send ripples, effects through the AFC North, depending on who they replace him with. Now, I'm hearing obviously that Aaron Rodgers and Tomlin have a relationship that goes back to Tomlin's time in Minnesota when he was I think he was a linebackers coach or something like that.
I think it's a narrative.
It's a narrative, maybe. Cause I think it may be a narrative because of how they interacted when Green Bay played Pittsburgh. But I don't know. I don't want to see that happen. I'll tell you that.
Nope.
Javon, what do you think about Big Ben's retirement? How's that impact the NFL?
I don't think it really makes an impact because it was a year too late. He did a Brett Favre on this, man. Held on a little bit too long. I will say that it really pushes who your top teams are in the AFC North going forward. It's going to be between Cincinnati and the Ravens. It definitely solidifies that. I mean, who would have thought that?
Would have never said that
Cincinnati would be there. You always know about Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think it really shifts the focus. Can the Steelers be formidable next year? Right. I think that goes away at that point. And you look forward to seeing what Cincinnati and Baltimore do with the AFC North next year.
Would have never thought coming in this season we'd be talking about Cincinnati and Baltimore being the top two teams. Because all season all we heard was Cleveland. Cleveland's going to win the division. Cleveland's going to do this, and well, as we saw today, Cincinnati won the division. So closing remarks. I think this first episode was great. Of the Sports Freak podcast, it was great. I appreciate having all of you guys on here today. We can go around the room. Does anybody have any parting words?
No, I'm good. Just thank everybody tuning in. See you next time.
Absolutely.
Yep. Just want to make sure everybody can follow me on Twitter. She Talks Football 1L. Check out my YouTube. She Talks Football. Also check me out on the Undroppables platform. You can also find my content over there. And so super happy to be a part of the Sports Freak podcast. It's been fun being in here with you guys. And I'm still going to say go Ravens. They're my heart always. So that win, lose, or draw, they are my team.
Absolutely. Javon?
I'll give a narrative more on that Watson deal since I didn't get a chance, but on the next one.
Oh, yeah.
It's deep, but it'll take too much time right now.
Okay. All right. So look, that's a teaser right there. That's what that's called. That's called a teaser. So if y'all want to hear in his opinion on the Deshaun Watson situation, make sure you tune in next week. Javon, Isaiah, what do you guys have to say?
Everybody just stay safe, man. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to the next show. Look forward to keep it real. Maybe throw some more jabs or something like that. We're going to liven it up a little bit more.
Happy? Yeah. Go ahead, Isaiah.
Same, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in. That's going to tune in. Continue to follow. Continue to watch. We got a lot more to come. And go Chiefs.
Absolutely, man. Look, thank everybody out there who'll be watching. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow everyone on here. Everyone has, we're all social on Twitter and different things and different platforms. So thank you guys all. We want to say Happy New Year, Happy 2022. This is the first podcast, Sports Freak podcast of the new year. It's 2022. We're only 2 days in. So we appreciate you guys. Happy New Year and God bless everyone and see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.